Hey guys, Peter here to do an album review. Today I'm here to tell you all about the latest from Voodoo God's The Divinity of Blood, out May 15th on Reaper Entertainment. This album has 11 tracks, 57 minutes in length, and this is the band's second full-length studio album. This album at its core, it's an old school death metal album, but in the periphery you have some new wave of British heavy metal sound and even some thrash metal influences that allows the album to have a very dynamic approach as far as death metal is concerned. It really breaks the boundaries of the genre and it really pushes the sound of the album beyond those boundaries. But then when you consider some of the members of the band like George Corpse Grinder Fisher and Victor Smolsky, you kind of understand the path that this band takes with their sound and why the album sounds the way it does. As far as the structure is concerned, this is a straightforward album. Brutal, heavy, intense, and with great driven guitar sound. That is to me one of the real predominant factors on the album. From the first to the last song, you have a lot of aggression, you'll have a lot of intensity. Really all the condiments that you need from a death metal album are present in this record. Having said that, the way they're organized together on a track-by-track basis and the different approaches that they have with every track, either be a different intro, how the song starts, the melody, the solos, how many solos they put on the track, how much bass are you going to get, the drums, how powerful are the drums. All of these elements are the same elements throughout the album, but the way they're used on a track-by-track basis allows this album to not sound repetitive at all, but still have a very linear and concise approach all the way through. So from far, it seems very compact, it seems very linear, with no fluctuations whatsoever, no changes, but then when you look at individual songs, you realize how dynamic and how different they are on a track-by-track basis. Some of the main elements of this album, beyond the structure, in my opinion, are really the guitars, the bass, and the vocals. These three elements are the driving force of this record. Some more than others, but I really believe that the combination of all three is really the gears that makes the motor turn as far as this album is concerned. Starting off with the guitars on this album are absolutely phenomenal. This is an album, like I said, in my opinion, really merges that old school death metal sound, at least that's the core DNA, the core structure of the record, with that new wave of British heavy metal sound. The mixture of these two elements from a guitar perspective is genius, and it works extremely well on this album. It really creates this huge wall of sound that seems to expand with every and single song on the record. I love the bass on the album. The bass is also another element that really brings a lot of life to the way this record sounds. They really didn't hide it. Normally in a death metal album, it's very easy to get the bass hidden within the tracks and to almost feel like it's not even there, that it's not present, because the songs are so aggressive, they're so intense, they have so much, they're so thick as far as the volume is concerned, that the bass becomes just an element that becomes obscured by everything else. On this record, that's not the case. I really love what they did with the bass. The bass is really predominant in some of the tracks. They allow the bass to shine. They give some really cool groovy bass lines in certain tracks that really evolve the song and give the song a little bit more of a groovy sound and really change the dynamic of the tracks. So I really like what they did with the bass. I like how the bass sounds throughout the record, and I like how important the bass is on certain tracks in changing the dynamic flow and changing even the sound and the approach that the songs have. On the vocal side of things, you have two vocalists with different and yet similar styles that really work well together. This album, from a vocal perspective, is really a collaboration. The two come together to deliver on every single song. This is not about one trying to overdo the other. This is not about one trying to overshadow the other. This album is really a collaboration of vocalists to really get the most energy, the most intensity, and to deliver the best possible overall sound and atmosphere on the record. I really enjoy the vocals. I really enjoy the dynamic changes of the vocals because they came combined or tied at the hip with the dynamic changes of the sound. So this is not like one was off the other. The changes that the music have on an individual track basis is really tied up to how the vocals change. So the dynamic of those two elements are interconnected throughout the record. This is, like I said, a death metal album. I love the sound on this album, but to me, what sets this album apart from other death metal releases is the fact that the guitars go beyond the genre of death metal. Like I said, I really feel like they brought a lot of that new wave of British heavy metal sound. They're more traditional, more classic heavy metal style guitars into the mix, and that changes everything. When you incorporate solos that have that sort of dynamic, that have that sort of sound, you're changing the tracks, you're changing the eyesight of the listener, you're changing the complete dynamic flow of the record, and you're changing the overall atmosphere that the tracks have. I love that. It's a different way of creating a death metal album, and in my opinion is a lot more creative way of doing a death metal album, not allowing the record to feel repetitive, really inserting melody, inserting energy on every single song that changes the way you approach the tracks. To me, as I walk away from this record, that is my takeaway. The guitar playing and how they interacted, the overall death metal sound with that more traditional classic heavy metal style guitars, that is the major takeaway from this record. Now, as far as songs are concerned, I want to start off with Necromancy to Paraphilia. This is a really interesting track. The drum and guitar combination on this track is really the driving force of this song, and it's really powerful as it starts, as it opens. They become, like I said, the main driving elements behind it. The vocals are pushing these two elements from behind. So it becomes a trifecta of elements, but with really the drums and guitars being the driver, and perhaps the vocals being on the passenger side with the GPS, telling them exactly where they need to go and where they need to take the song. The acoustic guitar melody that this song has in the middle section, it's really interesting because it comes and goes. So they alternate, and this was the main reason why this song immediately spoke to me. The acoustic guitar melody that they have on this track, it almost feels Middle Eastern. And they don't just have a portion of it. There's a huge portion of the song, I would say 2/3 of the song, is this guitar medley. So you have acoustic style, Middle Eastern inspired motif sound, and then that gets alternated with more classic heavy metal style solo, then alternates back into the acoustic, back into that more traditional heavy metal style solo, and this goes on for like 2/3 of the track. It really extends the track, but it's so beautiful how these two different styles, how these two different guitar approaches intertwine themselves within a song that starts off like as a pure brutal death metal track and finishes off in the same manner, but in the middle you have this piece that just almost doesn't feel like it belongs there, but they found a way to incorporate it, work, and create such a beautiful guitar melody that just creates two different, or puts together two different approaches and allows them to come together as one in the middle of a death metal track. That style, that approach, that creativity is something that this record has in abundance all the way through in all 11 songs. Next is Serenade of Hate, a more melodic intro into this song. I really like the approach here. The intro, it doesn't paint you the picture of the aggression and the brutality that you're going to get afterwards. It starts off really mellow, really melodic, almost like a serenade. Then it progresses into the hateful part of the title of the track, and it becomes really a serenade of hate because it becomes really heavy, really driven. The guitar intro is breathtaking. Part of that more melodic introduction is absolutely breathtaking. But then all hell breaks loose. The song becomes a lot heavier, and it really pounds you into submission. It's aggressive, it's intensive. The drums add an amazing backdrop to this song. This song has amazing drums all the way through, sometimes more in the forefront, sometimes dropping a little bit more into the background. But the drums have, the drums are the spinal cord of this song. Once it turns into a death metal track, the drums are definitely the spinal cord of this song and holds everything together. The guitar solo is amazing, as are all the guitar solos throughout this album, but I really like what they did on this specific song because the guitar solo really matches the dynamic of the song. It almost feels like it merges the intro, which was that really beautiful guitar melody that started off the track, so it merges that with the aggression and brutality that the song has. So those two worlds get combined in the way the guitar solo comes across on this track. Next, Isa. This song starts off as an old school death metal song, and you think that this is perhaps one of those songs where they're not going to do too much with it, or they're not going to tinker too much with it, and it's going to be pretty much an old school death metal, like that Florida swampy death metal track all the way through. It changes. It's not going to be that way. And honestly, after listening to the album, by the time you get to this song, by the time you get to Isa, this shouldn't really be a surprise. To me, I was somewhat surprised because the start, it felt very robust, and it felt that perhaps this was going to be the sound that they were going to keep all the way through. But as most tracks on this album, they throw you a curveball, and the first change is with the solo that brings that new wave of British heavy metal sound style to the solo. It's followed then by a more thrash metal style guitar riff that really extends the track. I would go as far as to say it drags the track out then you get this drums and bass coming together to create a really exit out of that more guitar-driven portion of the song, and then it goes back into how it started. It goes back to that more demonic death metal barrage of heaviness and aggression. It's a song that goes full circle, but it has a really interesting 2/3 bridge in the middle that allows the song to go in a much different way. It allows the song to be different, to sound different, to have a different approach in a different structure, and use different elements. This is it, guys. This is Voodoo Gods, The Divinity of Blood, once again out May 15th on Reaper Entertainment. Let me know your thoughts on the band, on the singles. Use the comment section below. I'll be reading those and getting back to you. Take care, guys.